Have you ever wondered whether spinning the weights makes lifting easier, or how many plates you can have on one side of a barbell before it tips? Well, I'm here to answer 3 gym questions you probably forgot to search up. Does spinning the weights actually make it easier to lift? You may have seen some people spinning the plates on the bar before benching it. However, this does not make it easier to bench press at all. In fact, it will make it slightly harder, and here's why. When the plates are spinning, they gain rotational motion, and spinning objects resist changes to their rotation. This is called angular momentum. Since the bar is never 100% straight, there's going to be some wobble, and with the plate spinning, it will resist that wobble, meaning you'll have to put more effort and strength to stabilizing the bar. One important thing to note is that spinning weights do not change the force required to lift the bar. F equals mg applies whether something spins or not, but overall, spinning the weights will make it harder to lift. How many plates can you have on one side of the bar before the bar tips? To answer the question, we need to explain it using torque. The bar will only tip when the torque on one side of the pivot exceeds the other side. Torque can be calculated by multiplying force times the distance from the pivot. In our case, the pivot will be one arm of the rack. A standard bar is 20 kilograms, 2.2 meters long, and the center of mass is 1.1 meters from either end. On a standard bench press, the rack arm is about 0.65 meters away from the center of the bar. Normally, for the force and torque, we multiply by 9.8 because that's the acceleration from gravity. But since we're multiplying that to both sides, we can just cancel it out and get a tipping comparison. The torque value we get from the bar is 0.65 times 20, which gives us a torque value of 13. Now the torque on the side with weights can be found by taking the distance from the pivot, and there's usually about 10 centimeters or 0.1 meters of space between the rack arm and the plates. Also, the standard thickness of a cast iron plate is about 1.5 inches or 3.8 centimeters, which is 0.038 meters. Now let's assume we put 2 plates on one side. That makes our distance from the pivot to be 0.1 meters plus the distance to the center of the mass of the 2 plates, which is 0.038 meters. So the total distance is 0.138 meters, and the force or mass in this case of 2 plates is 40 kilograms. So our torque value is 5.52. If we add a third plate, then our torque value jumps to 9.42. So using standard cast iron plates, you can have a tiny bit more than 3 plates on one side of the barbell before it tips. What about bumper plates, you may ask? Well, bumper plates are way thicker than cast iron. So let's see how many of those we can put on before the bar tips. Let's assume the average bumper plate is around 7.5 centimeters. So that means it would be 0.075 meters. If we have 2 of those on one side, our torque will be 0.175 times 40, which equals 7. If we have 3 plates, our torque value becomes 12.75. So 3 bumper plates will just barely balance on one side. In short, you can have up to 3 cast iron plates and a little bit extra, or 3 bumper plates on one side of the barbell with no weight on the other side without it tipping over. Do not try this at home. How do you calculate your max bench press? If you always end up having to use a website to calculate your max bench press, here's a formula you can use to do it yourself. 1 RM equals W times 1 plus R over 30, where W is the weight you did, R is the amount of reps you did, and for example, if you benched 195 for 5 reps, then your 1 rep max would be 227.5 pounds. Alright everyone, that was 3 gym questions you probably forgot to search up. I hope you learned something new from the video, and as always, I'll see you all next time.